Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Stunning developments today in the unfolding scandal surrounding New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, as documents obtained by the press show the governor's top deputies ordered lanes of traffic on the world's busiest bridge to be closed off in the New Jersey town of Fort Lee, in an apparent petty, punitive retribution against the mayor of Fort Lee, who had the gall not to endorse Christie. That mayor will join me here in a moment, and trust me, you do not want to miss that. And tonight, a man once hailed as the next Republican presidential nominee is fighting for his political life, canceling his one event today, giving no interviews, and issuing a statement attempting to distance himself from the entire mess. One thing is for sure, while just a few weeks ago he was joking about the allegations, Chris Christie is not laughing now.
Major twist in the Bridgegate controversy rocking Chris Christie's inner circle.
I've been reading some of these emails, and they seem very, very damning.
The intrigue here is intense political revenge, all sorts of allegations out there.
Imagine the following email exchange as Mark Murray of NBC News did. Former senior White House advisor David Plouffe to Treasury. Quote, "Time for some IRS audits on Tea Party groups." And the Treasury staffer responds, "Got it. How long until the pitchforks and torches came out and the articles of impeachment were filed?" Well, today, we have concrete evidence that top officials in the Chris Christie administration ordered a massive 4-day traffic jam in the New Jersey town of Fort Lee, in apparent retaliation for the town's Democratic mayor refusing to endorse Christie's re-election bid for governor. Christie had previously laughed off the allegations.
I worked the cones, actually.
But in explosive documents obtained by the Bergen Record, it appears Christie's inner circle was engaged in a stunning Nixonian abuse of power. Here's what happened. On August 13th, Bridget Ann Kelly, one of Christie's deputy chiefs of staff, writes to David Wildstein, a Christie childhood friend and appointee at the Port Authority. Quote, "Time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee." Wildstein responds, "Got it." A few weeks later, on the first day of school, 2 of the 3 of Fort Lee's access lanes to the George Washington Bridge, the busiest bridge in the world, are suddenly closed for 4 days, turning the entire town of Fort Lee into a parking lot. Fort Lee's mayor, Mark Sokolich, complains about the problem of getting kids to school, describing the situation as maddening. In response, a person whose identity is redacted writes to Wildstein, quote, "Is it wrong that I'm smiling?" Wildstein, "No." The unknown texter responds, "I feel badly about the kids, I guess." Wildstein, "They are the children of Buono voters." As in Barbara Buono, the Democratic candidate for governor who lost this past November to Christie. 4 days into the lane closures, David Wildstein emails Kelly, angered the traffic in Fort Lee wasn't worse. The New York side gave Fort Lee back all 3 lanes this morning. "We are appropriately going nuts." Sampson helping us to retaliate. David Sampson, another Christie appointee to the Port Authority. After being forwarded a Wall Street Journal story on the incident, Wildstein writes in an email to Bill Stepien, Christie's campaign manager, and at the time one of his deputy chiefs of staff, "It will be a tough November for this little Serbia." Stepien responds, "It's fine. The mayor's an idiot." Fort Lee's mayor, Mark Sokolich, is Croatian, not Serbian. When Chris Christie was asked about the lane closures in early December, he scoffed at the allegation.
I worked the cones, actually, Matt. Unbeknownst to everybody, I was actually the guy out there. I was in overalls and a hat, so I wasn't, but I actually was the guy working the cones out there. You really are not serious with that question.
But then he went on to express his displeasure, not about the lanes being closed, but that Fort Lee has 3 lanes.
I didn't even know Fort Lee got 3 dedicated lanes until all this stuff happened. Because I've sat in that traffic before I was governor. And the fact that one town has 3 lanes dedicated to it, that kind of gets me sauced.
On December 6th, David Wildstein resigns. On December 13th, Bill Baroni, another appointee who shows up in the emails, resigns. That day, Christie says he's merely bothered by the resignations.
Bothered probably would be the better word. You know, I was bothered by it. I've made it very clear to everybody on my senior staff that if anyone had any knowledge about this, that they needed to come forward to me and tell me about it, and they've all assured me that they don't.
Well, Chris Christie should be more than bothered. This is just the beginning. On the first day the lanes were closed, Kelly asked Wildstein if Sokolich's calls had been returned. Radio silence, Wildstein writes back. His name comes right after Mayor Fulop. Stephen Fulop is the Democratic mayor of Jersey City, who also did not endorse Chris Christie's re-election bid. So the question now is, how many other people have been retaliated against? How many people have been rewarded? And how far up does this go? Late this afternoon, Governor Chris Christie released a statement. Reads, "What I've seen today for the first time is unacceptable. I am outraged and deeply saddened to learn that not only was I misled by a member of my staff, but this completely inappropriate and unsanctioned conduct was made without my knowledge. One thing is clear, this type of behavior is unacceptable. I will not tolerate it because the people of New Jersey deserve better. This behavior is not representative of me or my administration in any way, and people will be held responsible for their actions." Joining me now to discuss that is Mayor of Fort Lee, New Jersey, Mark Sokolich. Mayor, I want to read an exchange that happened in the documents we obtained today and just get your reaction and confirm that you wrote this. This is a text you sent to one of Governor Christie's appointees. "We should talk. Someone needs to tell me that the recent traffic debacle was not punitive in nature. The last 4 reporters that contacted me suggest the people they are speaking with absolutely believe it to be punishment. Try as I may to dispel these rumors, I am having a tough time. Later, a private face-to-face would be important to me. Perhaps someone can enlighten me as to the errors of my ways. Let me know if you'll give me 10 minutes. Did you, in fact, write that?
I did.
And did you get a meeting?
I did not. I didn't get a response.
So you got no, at one point in these exchanges, they talk about sort of gleefully radio silence. While this traffic jam is happening in your city, what are you doing and what response are you getting from Christie's people?
We're getting zero. Chris, understand that from the moment that this happened, we went through an absolute incessant effort, tireless effort to contact somebody at the Port Authority, to contact the people that we've always been designated and assigned to handle problems here in Fort Lee. The very same people that I developed relationships with over the course of the 6 years that I've served as mayor. We called, I think 20, 30 times, 40 times. I was calling people's cell phones, the cell phones that I had, sending text mails, because it was maddening. It was maddening because we had families that were looking for emergency services to respond to calls, to 911 calls. Calls that would take 3 minutes were taking 11, 12 minutes. We had other problems with police. There was somebody that was missing. They couldn't conduct that investigation properly. On top of that, we had thousands of kids that were late for the first day of school. Then they were late for the rest of the week as well. It was maddening, but we made an incredible effort to contact someone.
So when you're getting stonewalled, you're getting radio silence, what do you start to think is happening? It seems from the text that we got our hands on today that you yourself didn't want to believe it was possible that this was just political punishment for refusing to endorse the governor.
Chris, if you know me for 30 seconds, you know that there's not an ounce of venom in my system. I don't think, and I try to find the best in people. So I automatically, my own instincts automatically just dismiss the prospect that this is political retribution. Because think about it. Who would close down lanes to the busiest bridge in the world to get to me? First of all, I never viewed myself as being that important. The governor himself said that I'm not on his radar, nor am I in his Rolodex. So I'm thinking, how could this possibly be? How could it possibly be? But now reading the emails and the text that we see today, it certainly is the case. And I'm embarrassed for those people.
You're embarrassed for those people. What is your response to the governor trying to distance himself from this? The fact that there is a smoking gun, time for some traffic in Fort Lee, that comes from one of his deputy chiefs of staff. How far up do you think this goes?
Yeah, well, everybody asked me that question. I'm not here to speculate, nor will I speculate. I will tell you, though, it's gotten closer and closer as time transpires. I'm not rooting for an email to surface that specifically and expressly has the governor authorizing this retribution. I'm not, because it's not my nature. But I will tell you, it's the credibility level is getting reduced and reduced and reduced as this story continues to move on. And let me also explain one other thing, Chris. A lot of folks, including your group and everybody else that's been calling me for interviews over the last 3 or 4 months, I specifically didn't enter this political fray because I never viewed it to be a benefit to the residents of Fort Lee. They've been through enough. There were various agencies that were seeking facts, conducting investigations. investigations to make sure that we got to the bottom of this, to make sure that the people responsible suffered appropriate consequence, and hopefully incorporate reform so this doesn't happen again. But I never entered it because it didn't make sense. Let everybody do their job and we'll figure it out. Now reading the emails that I read and see that it was a personal attack on me, slanderous that I might add, I abdicate my responsibility to the people I'm sworn to protect if I don't enter this debate. And I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for the entire state of New Jersey because it just sets us back, and we're guaranteed to be the brunt of the next 50 years of political jokes. And quite frankly, after this behavior, we deserve it.
Do you have a relationship with the governor? Have you spoken to the governor? Has the governor reached out to you? Has he apologized? Have you talked about what happened in your city?
No. No, governor hasn't reached out for me. Again, I'm not on his radar. Why would he? We've met several times. I've actually broken bread with him several times. I have a feeling his recollection of me is a little better than perhaps he's revealing, quite frankly. But be that as it may, I don't know. He's not reached out for me, but like I said, don't reach out for me. Don't do me any favors. Don't reach out for me. You need to reach out to the families who were waiting for ambulances taking 3 times longer to get there. You need to reach out to the thousands of families that couldn't get their kids to school. And you need to reach out to my chief fiscal officer and figure out how much this costs Fort Lee so we could get a reimbursement check from Trenton. That's what I think we need to do. Don't apologize to me. I don't want an apology.
You're referred to by two
4 months ago.
The Christie one appointee and someone who worked for him as an idiot, I think, at one point. And also, I have to read this to you and get your response to it, because it was one of the most vicious little jabs in there. After throwing an article about the traffic jam, we have David Wildstein, who's since resigned, saying, "It will be a tough November for this little Serbian." Got a response to that?
David Wildstein deserves an ass kicking, okay? Sorry, there, I said it.
All right.
How you could intentionally do this.
Please.
How you can intentionally do this to a community that has to endure as much as it has to endure on a daily basis. I mean, look, I'm sworn to protect us. I'm sworn to make sure that the quality of our lives are as high as they could possibly be. And I am sworn to make sure that our health, safety, and welfare is protected every day. And let me tell you, we do a great job here, especially considering we're host community to the bridge. And Chris, let me tell you, we're relied upon by 40, 50, 60 different communities on a daily basis to get to and from work, doctor's appointments, what have you. This is not a Fort Lee issue. This is a regional issue. So for those that say dedicated lanes in Fort Lee, there's no dedicated lanes to Fort Lee. I'd love to have them. And if you're offering, yes, maybe that's a way of making up for all of this. But these are lanes that are shared by 50 or 60 different communities.
So then finally here, why did you not endorse Governor Christie back during the re-election, which apparently was what precipitated this? And would you endorse Governor Christie if he were to run for president?
I didn't endorse Governor Christie because I am a follower, believer, and supporter of democratic principles. Okay? Simple as that. I didn't support Governor Christie because, at least me, this idiot, I seek no other higher political office. I'm born and raised in Fort Lee. I've only ever wanted to serve in a leadership capacity to try to help the people that I grew up with. So I've been blessed with the privilege to serve as its mayor. This is not a stepping stone for me. If I was looking at this as a stepping stone, maybe I'd think of other ways to do it. Not me. I'm loyal to the Democratic Party. I'm proud of what we've accomplished on a county level, on a state level. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of my legislative delegation here in our district. And I tell you, we've done phenomenal things in Fort Lee. And that truly is the tragedy here, because we're in the middle of a renaissance. We're in the middle of $1 billion redevelopment. We are arguably the most progressive community in the state of New Jersey, run by this idiot. And we should be applauded for that, not penalized for it.
Mayor Mark Sokolich of Fort Lee, New Jersey, thank you for your time tonight. So that happened.